Okay.
Okay.
April 22nd,
Right.
2019. And so today, Sandra and I are going to have a discussion / debate, probably, on ego versus spirit.
Right.
And the place that ego plays inside a person's life. And spirit.
Right.
And I have a position that I think people require a certain amount of ego to function normally. So this may help me understand ego better by the time we've worked our way through this. I think if you require a certain amount of ego to get up in the morning, find yourself, ready for work, the confidence you can get work done. If you're self-employed, you have to be able to promote yourself, sell yourself, and have the confidence or a little bit of ego that you are capable. And so too much ego, I think, goes, in my experience, and it's probably much different than Sandra's, but they're what I call roosters, right? Guys who are, or individuals, I won't just say guys, but in my case, older guys, older individuals with, generally speaking, great suntans, the gold bracelets, the gold chain, the big boat at the beach, trying to attract younger women and stuff. To me, that's a lot of unnecessary ego, and I've tended to shy away from that kind of ego throughout my life. And I'm not really sure how ego ties into spirit. I think too much ego would block spirit. That's my sense. So I think if you can kind of find the line where you still have the requirement to move throughout your day and function efficiently and effectively with a little bit of ego, and then not get into that rooster zone. And so I'm going to just throw it over to Sandra and figure out her point of view on ego and spirit.
Okay. Well, through the process of self-discovery, over the years, I've looked at ego, looked at spirit, walked in spirit, and some people can say, okay, that person's very spiritual, that one is very egocentric. And then if I look at it, I think, well, how do we really differentiate? And you're right, between ego and spirit. It's like, I can't have any ego, and I just got to walk in spirit. So we have a lot of spiritual people that are so ungrounded, so unfocused, they can't live or manifest in this world, and they call themselves spiritual. Okay? Then we have a lot of ego people that it's all about them. That's the narcissist, and they get whatever they want and they're entitled. So how about if we look at where ego comes from and what really ego is, and then how we can integrate ego and spirit? Because when we talk about ego, it's more about our external world here on the third dimension. So it's more physical, it's more mundane. When we talk about spirit, it's our inner world. Okay? And that's with spirit, the non-physical. So when it comes to ego, it's like, where does your ego come from and what is it? We do need ego. You're right, Michael. Okay? We have to have a sense of identity. And that really comes from where? Our parents. That's our beliefs, our perceptions, our values, our anything to do with them. And your ego is usually developed, okay, between the ages of 1 and 2 years old, maybe 3, depending on your innate intelligence, okay? So that's your ego. So ego is, I need to differentiate. I'm just not this person. The whole world doesn't revolve around me, okay? There are other people in our lives, okay? And I think the real challenge comes in, anybody that's been around children can understand that. We call them the terrible twos, and it's between 3 and 4, okay, that it's all about them. That's when they really develop their ego. So when you're a child and you're between, say, 2 and 4, It's they throw a tantrum if they don't get what they want, they scream, they holler, whatever. So basically, if they're allowed to get away with that, and they're pampered and entitled, they get to just do that all their life. And Jordan Peterson, who has an excellent book out, talks about that nobody wants your brats that you've raised. So we've got ego and we've got spirit. So we need to have a certain amount of ego. But if we keep going with ego, it's all about us. Okay? It doesn't work. There are other people in the world. The dangerous part about it is there's a lot of people that are not conscious about their ego. So all of the world is about consciousness and what's your frequency. So we will say that person just does whatever they want. They have no conscience. So they're only thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about anybody else. And when you said, Mike, how these guys, these older men have these boats and whatever, well, that is an inflated sense of ego. Because ego, when it's inflated, thinks it's just about them. They get to do what they want. They do not have a really strong sense of reality. So they're really living in a delusionary world. It's like somebody that just figures, I want to have this, I get to have it, I get to do this. Well, it just doesn't work. So when you talked about men, I can talk about women. Just because they have a nice tits and ass, and the bottom line is they don't work, they go to the gym, their man pays for everything, and what do? Look pretty, because then what do? They get what they want. So they're using their physical manifestation. I'm not sure how much they have up here, or what kind of skills they have to take care of themselves in the real world, but they're using their ego, okay? And guess what? Then they usually transfer that, and that's what happens with their daughters, okay? So that's where we say ego sets the stage as you're young, okay? I've got some notes here because I've got to make sure to keep myself really on track, because in the spiritual world, it's here. Ego is here, and it's trying to integrate the two in a healthy way, a functional way. What do you think?
I think I have a question. We've sort of talked and touched a little bit about the ability to replace ego with faith or spirit, to walk with spirit. Now, I don't think that's probably all that wise. At some point, I need to know the line. I need to know that I'm still okay to be in ego and still be able to walk with spirit without conflicting with each other. And to me, it's a really blurred line.
Right.
And how unhealthy is it for me to overstep my ego into where I should be walking with spirit?
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's a perfect question.
Well, let's hear your answer.
Okay.
Why is that?
From my point of view, okay, and if anybody's into Carl Jung, we have something called the shadow. Okay, everybody has it. And if you've watched Lord of the Rings, that's Sméagol. So there's a good witch and there's a bad witch with me. And there's a dark side and a light side with everybody, okay? And when you're unconscious of it, you're not aware of even that you have a shadow. So all the self-discovery and spiritual work I've done over the years is just that. And it's been all my life. And only recently have I got into something called the Gene Keys, which is really identifying the shadow, okay? And that's based on a mathematical equation that if you're interested, you can contact us. The next thing is that defines and shows that there is a shadow. Now, my idea, which is a really good question, how do you integrate them? Okay, so if I'm walking with ego, it's all about me. I deserve this, I'm going to do this, on whatever. Okay? If I'm walking with spirit, and we'll see how we get there, everything flows for me. It's very synchronistic. There's a lot of serendipity that happens. I get lots of great opportunities. My life opens up. There's a lot of potential. There's not a lot of struggle. Okay? When we're working with our shadow and we don't understand it, we have different things happen to us. And so we eventually, either there's a health problem, you lose your job, your relationship, there's many different things. And so your soul is evolving. So for me, you have to do the shadow to get to the light, which is working with spirit, which means, that's really good, because a lot of people have a hard time with this. It's surrender. Okay? For me, I've had a lot of times of surrender, or they say the dark night of the soul. And the biggest one is when you have a near-death experience, and then you truly understand what surrender is. Okay? And surrendering is also, that's why the AA program is very strong. Because the 12-step program, which is an international thing, because what do most people that have addictions problems with is they can't handle the real world or the reality, so they medicate themselves, okay, with food, whatever. That's part of the shadow work, instead of facing it and cleaning it out. So the first one is in your 12-step program is I surrender to a higher power, whatever that higher power is. So when you walk with spirit, you have a really good sense of identity. You know who you are. The challenge that I see is a lot of people that have a strong ego cannot see their ego. So they're not conscious of it. Okay? So when you're not conscious of it, you can't really do anything. And that's why I like the Gene Keys process, because it identifies it and then you work it through. And I'm still working it through at this stage of my life. Okay? So I think that you integrate, and it comes with faith. Okay, for me, I do nothing. I do it with. I'm like a conduit. When I do readings and stuff, I do the work here on this physical plane, and I can talk and I can share, but a lot of it comes down. And that's, you're really good healers and massage therapists and that. They're just conduits. So to end this, it's like all I know is that my body is my temple, and it's my body. Okay, I'm sitting in a home. This is my body on this earth plane. And it is the home for my soul or my divine light. The moment I connect with my divine light, I'm walking in spirit. And I have to have faith and trust. And there's a saying, divine intervention happens. And a lot of times, the divine plan, because remember, you had a plan. That's a whole other topic. You chose to come here. You have a purpose, and it's to find that purpose is to have faith that you're walking in that spiritual thing. And as soon as you get jittery molecules, I would say, or things aren't going for you, things aren't going right for you, it's just like, oh my God, the thing that bugs me the most is when somebody, and you probably know that, like, I hate my work, I don't want to do this. It's like, oh my God, like, shut up. Like, hello, listen to yourself. You're here in this body. You have a job. There's tons of people that don't have food, that don't have a home. What makes you feel you're entitled to do exactly what you desire? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. All I know is the Buddhists say chop wood, carry water.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, I say that.
That's right where I was going. Oh, I was just going to say, when we surrender.
Right.
Okay, we surrender to divine, or, the faith that we have in divine's ability to help us walk in the light and improve our life with less effort from us, because we're not paddling against the river or pedaling into the wind. Somehow we're we're biking downhill or with the wind at our back or going with the current. But at the end of the day, we still have to chop wood and carry water with, I mean, Divine's not coming down to say, I'm cleaning the dishes for you, or I'm going to clean the, up the backyard, or cut your grass, or go to work for you.
No.
Right? We still have to, I haven't figured out a way to release all my ego, to surrender to the divine, and perhaps it's because I'm in my infancy towards spirituality that I haven't been able to do that yet. I'm not really sure what it would look like if I completely surrendered and, if everything flowed my way. What would that be like? Is that even possible?
Well, the possibility for me, I've done a surrendering. Anybody that knows me, a lot of my life, I've lived with spirit, okay? But the bottom line is I work all the time. I only rely on one person. And who is that? Me. Okay, I am my own generator. Okay, and this is really a good thing because you're entitled, egotistical people, okay, that there's a lot of them right now, especially the younger ones. I'm entitled to have this car. I'm entitled to do this. I need to live with you till I'm 30 years old because you know what? And you need to pay for this and you need to do that. Wow, what a concept. That's what's wrong with our society, okay? Is the bottom line is when you live with spirit, you understand that you are, number one, you and the divine, okay? My purpose is to find out who I am. I'm an energy being. I am my own self-generator. I do not need to depend on anyone. Our parents take us from the stage of being dependent to getting you out of diapers, getting you to walk, getting you to be a self-reliant, okay, generating soul, okay? And so what I don't understand, and I've seen it, is that even the students I work with is just like, do you think that there's a money tree out there that you just go and grab that money from and you buy? Money is energy. We are energy. How your lives revolve are energy, okay? And so it's like, it's an evolution of spirit, okay? If I was to say, oh, I'm just going to totally surrender. I know the law of attraction. It's like when Jerry and Esther Hicks came out and I trained with them, 40 years ago. Everybody goes, the law of attraction, I'm going to sit in my chair and all I have to do is visualize, I'm going to get all this money, I'm going to become this, it's going to happen. That don't work. That's done with your head. That's ego. But guess what? When you do what we call shadow work, you look at your DNA. You look at what has happened to you from birth, before birth, while you were in the womb. What are you carrying? What is it you need to work through to get to spirit? Okay. So, I mean, people can say it's really easy. I mean, the Buddhist monks have given up and they've given up, but they don't need anything. They wear the same robes. They eat rice. People are taking care of them. The one thing I respect about them is that they're not like a lot of because Buddhism is a philosophy. The religions, the preachers sit in their houses. They have their big fancy churches. There's a lot of evil stuff that happens in those churches, which things are being changed right now. But the thing is, they are like the parasites, okay? And so the host becomes the people. So we're hosts, okay? When you live in spirit, your host is the divine, so you can create. When you live in ego, you're connected to somebody else and you take their energy. That can be in our politics, our religious, all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
So when you live in ego,
Yeah.
the over excessive ego, okay, I'm going to just say this is my idea of what that might be. And that's when it's all about you. And you're
That's
doing
right.
things that are detrimental to others to get ahead. When you climb a corporate ladder and, step on who you need to step on.
Right.
When you've attained a privileged position of power, for example, our politicians, and you abuse it for personal gain.
That's it.
This is all operating in ego, which I think is, it's pretty obvious, and I think you hold yourself open for serious karmic repercussions. You're going against the flow and against spirit.
That's right.
Although you might have temporary gain, I think you're in for long-term pain. So
Right.
I'm getting a better idea of what would be sort of a harmful ego,
Right.
and closer to where I can come and still have the required ego that I need in a day and still not interfere with my walking with spirit.
Yeah,
So I hope that's kind of like made sense to
Right.
others out there. If they got anything they want to add, there's comments below. And
one thing I do want to say is that, Michael, you take it to the corporate world and the business, and I take it to an everyday world. I take it to the neighbor, okay? Because right now we're having a lot of karmic, what would I say? A lot of karma being released. So people think, well, I'll go to my next lifetime or in 6 months. No. What you do today, you're going to start having instant karma. So, and it's like, look at your life. Don't point your finger out at anybody else. Go look in the mirror. So, do you do something that hurts somebody else? Do you lie? These are basic things. These are basic life things. So yes, we can look at our politicians, but we need to look at ourselves, okay? And so one of the things is, if you are, and a big thing right now, and we wrote the relationship book, is, I would say, the moment you start having a relationship with another person and you are married to somebody, that is one of the hugest challenges, especially if you have children, because you're affecting how many people's lives. Okay, so before we start judging the world out there, we need to look in and judge ourselves and say, what can we do? And we were talking about this the other day. It's like, the world needs to be cleaned up. Well, the first thing is we need to clean our own garbage up, because as we clean ourselves up and do our shadow work, we raise our own frequency, and that's where the universal oneness comes in. This whole idea about universal love, it's about universal acceptance, okay? But I can't judge. I need to clean up, because we are all connected and all together. So I think that's all I know. I just want to see if I have anything here. Starts at childhood. Yeah, here, the mystery and magic of inner light is the connection in the divine source. Higher levels of consciousness, as I said before. And the bottom line is, because I've worked in a prison, how conscious, is there any remorse of when someone kills somebody? Is there any remorse of when somebody hurts somebody? When they lie or they do something? Where's the consciousness? Okay? Or is there any? And it's like, is it the benefit? So when you make a decision or doing something, is it going to be the benefit of all involved? Or, as you say in the corporate world, it's just all about them? Or in a relationship, is it just all for one person? Is it one-sided? Okay? And so surrendering to spirit is tuning into the I am presence. And so you go the opposite of ego. And so when you're living in ego, it's all principle based, and it's all pleasure based. What makes me feel good? I gotta feel good. I need to buy this. I need to eat this. You need to treat me this. No. It's chop wood, carry water. You get up and you do what you need to do. Okay? Got to get ready for work. Got to find a job. Got to do this. Got to do that. That's basic stuff. And you're right. So if anybody out there has anything you want to share about ego, we could have a little contest. Okay? And part of the contest would be, I'm going to throw out the word narcissist. So if you know of anybody that has a narcissist personality, you would understand what that is. I'm not going to say anything. If you have a story about that, do it. If you have a story about how you went from ego and how you began to walk in spirit, if you want to share that. So there's going to be 2 contests, and so we'll have 2 prizes. And the prizes are usually a personality report, personal profile report for the year, and or
A destiny report,
destiny report.
right?
Yeah,
Gives you a heads up on, who you are, a better insight into yourself, and what your year coming up might look like.
Right.
And over the years, I found it really, really accurate.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, it's certainly worth a read.
right. And also the intimacy report, if you want to tell them, they can do 2 people.
Intimacy, yeah, you can see cosmically how you're connected to your partner or potential partner, and if they would make sense in your life or not. It's a lot of inside insight,
Right,
right? And and the reasons why you
right.
make sense or don't.
Also, there is a business report, which we've actually worked with companies with, and so you can even qualify for that. So 2 contests once. One is about, have you had an experience with somebody that's very narcissistic? And the next one is, when did you move from an ego-based personality to spirit, and how did that work? And so you can either get your personal destiny report, a couple's destiny report, or a business report, which tells you how you interact with somebody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool. And if you can come up with any topic because we're pretty, open to discussing, and between the 2 of us, we've got a lot of experiences at both ends of the spectrum. If you come up with something you want to talk about or hear us talk about, just leave a comment, and
Yeah.
and we'll certainly get after it.
Right. Leave a comment. Thank you. Please subscribe and to the YouTube channel. And next, you know where to purchase Game Changer. And we're pretty excited because there's going to be an audio out in a few weeks. So we'll have a new video on that. Okay, many blessings.
Namaste.